Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. Today I'm starting the first training video series that we're going to be putting out this year. So today I'm going to be focusing on drawing from concealment, specifically drawing from concealment in the appendix position. There's a couple different philosophies and techniques that we're going to touch on a little bit, but we're not going to get anything too serious on philosophy today. But basically we have two kinds of draw. We have a threat draw and we have our tactical draw. Our tactical draw is what we use if we're a professional group of dudes and you go clap somebody, you're stacking up on his door. At that point you'd have your gun out and you'd be ready, but you're not going to be on target ready to shoot. A threat draw is where we actively have a threat and we've decided to put rounds on target before we've even unholstered our gun. So I'm left-handed, and just to make things simple, instead of saying left hand or right hand, I'm gonna say dominant hand or non-dominant hand. So I'm a lefty, my dominant hand is my left hand. If you're right-handed, your dominant hand would be your right hand. That's just to help avoid confusion. And we have another term that we say a lot is on target, on trigger, which is OT, OT. So if we have a target, we're pointing towards it, we're on target, we are on trigger. Now if we're off target, or Sewell or high ready or whatever, we're gonna be off trigger. We have an overarching principle when it comes to training, and that is safety, consistency, and speed. It has to be safe. The technique has to not be unusually dangerous to ourselves, our equipment, or people around us. It has to be something that we can do consistently, and it has to be something that we can do fast. Now there's a old saying that slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and that's kind of what we build off of here. We get a technique that's safe and we can do consistently, and once we can do it consistently, then at that point we can start working on our speed. If we're not consistent, we try to do it quickly, we're gonna end up fumbling, and we're gonna do some stuff that makes us look really, really uncool. Our goal for training is we want to train to consistency, meaning I can reliably draw this holster the same way every single time. I'm not, grabbing it, getting a sort of a half grip on the gun. I'm not fumbling around with magazines. I'm not fumbling around with my shirt. It's something that I can get to consistently every time. Now it takes about 3,000 repetitions for us to fully burn neural pathways in our brain that allows us to make something a muscle memory. So if we have a technique that we need to practice, basically we need to practice this technique thousands of times. That way it's completely muscle memory. And if we're in a situation where we go, oh crap, I need to, pull my gun out and shoot, we make the decision and our body takes over because we've already done this 3,000 times. There are many different techniques for drawing a gun from concealed carry. You have three main steps, and that is, step one is to clear the garment, which is allow access to the gun. So if you have your gun behind your shirt, you get your shirt out of your way. And then step two is get a full firing grip. And then step three is to be able to present on target. So basically you clear the garment, you get access to your gun, you grab your gun, and then you get your gun out and on target. Those are the three steps. And there's no real exception to that. If you don't have any of those three steps, you have a bad situation. If you fail to clear your garment, you're gonna grab your gun through your shirt, and then you're gonna get tangled up and you're gonna end up dropping something. If we don't get a full firing grip, we clear the garment just fine, but we don't get the full firing grip, then at that point, then we're gonna be doing weird things like dropping magazines instead of pulling a trigger, or we're not gonna have our sights lined up, or we're gonna go to pull the trigger and we realize that we don't have our full grip and we just squeeze the handle in a really weird way. So having a full firing grip is one of the most important things we can do. And then the last thing is we gotta be able to present on target. So essentially, you just present on target and then do what you have to do. Okay, so the first thing we gotta do before we start training is we gotta make sure our gun is unloaded. We have a three-step process of clearing a gun, and that's the look, feel, look. So we break open the action, we look in the gun, there's no magazine in there, and we can look and see that there's nothing in the chamber. Then we feel, so look, feel, and then we look again, and then at that point we know that we have a cleared gun. So step one, like we said before, is we have to clear the garment, we have to allow access to the firearm. That is the job of the non-dominant hand. For me, my right hand, because I'm a lefty. So the non-dominant hand is going to grab the garments and pull it out of the way. Now there are a bunch of different techniques. Some people like to use a thumb and kind of go under and flick like that, or grab on this side or grab on this side. And it's really just a matter of personal preference. For me, I just kind of grab and pull. All right, so step one is to clear the garment. So that's the non-dominant hand. Non-dominant hand clears the garment, and then the dominant hand gets the full firing grip. And this is what's really important. We gotta make sure that we get our full firing grip on the gun before we come out of the holster, because if we mess up our grip here and we pull out of the holster, we're not going to be able to shoot, because if we grab it like this, we're not even going to be able to reach the trigger because we're doing some really hokey thing. So we got to make sure that we get a full firing grip. And then if your gun is equipped with your safety, at this point, this is where you pull out and flick the safety. This is where we start having differences between a threat draw and a tactical draw. If we have a tactical draw, we would come up and kind of go to a swivel position or a low ready or a high ready position, and that's where we'd have a difference between a tactical draw or a threat draw. But we're concealed carriers and we are training for self-defense scenarios, and we don't brandish firearms unless we've made the decision to use them. In most states, there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, you cannot pull out a firearm unless you have already made the decision to use it. So we pull out the gun, safety's off, clear the holster, and at this point we can angle up and come on target right here. So we full firing grip, safety off, and our finger is on the trigger. On target, on trigger, we're on target, so we're on trigger because we've already made the decision that we're going to shoot before we even go for our gun. So we get it out, we're automatically on the trigger, and from right here I can start shooting if I have to. I join my hands together and then I can present the gun. To reholster, we've done our shooting, we've done what we need to do, we finished our drill, we verify that the holster is empty, and then at that point, finger off the trigger and we reinsert in the holster. You just put the gun in the holster the same way it came out. I'm going to do that a little bit faster. Non-dominant hand clears garment, left hand gets full firing grip, comes out on target, and then present. And we can get pretty quick at this. All right, so the primary takeaway is we have to practice, practice, practice. We want to get in as many repetitions as we possibly can. I just demonstrated the technique that I used. Once you find a technique that works for you and that meets your standards with your gun, with your carry position, because there's a whole bunch of different ways you can carry an appendix. But once you figure out how you're gonna do it, just practice, 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 practice. Practice that technique till you're blue in the face. So once you practice 3,000 times, then at that point you have neural pathways connected and you're gonna be able to perform under pressure and you're gonna be able to grab that gun when you need it and you're not gonna have to think it's going to be a reflexive action. We recommend looking for ways that you can introduce as much stress as possible into your training. And what I mean by that is you can do some jumping jacks, do some push-ups, run around, and then try to practice your draw. Or what you can do even better is you can do all that and then have your friends watch you and videotape you. That way you're under pressure from them. The more stress and pressure you can introduce on your training to make sure that your technique is solid, the better. Well, I hope you guys were able to learn something from this video. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. The best way to contact us is via email, and you can find our email on our website at shadowdefensive.com. Thanks again for watching, guys, and remember, stay strapped.